The guard was comprised of RKN, Rambo, and Keon, and in the previous split one, they finished 3rd overall in the most difficult region in the world, North America. They took this success and carried it over to LAN as they cruised through to the finals. Along the way, they managed to grab a game win in every single group stage match, as well as their winners finals match. With this much momentum, many expected them to contend for the championship, but unfortunately, their run didn't end as they hoped, finishing in 17th place on the day. Every team has bad days, and this was the case for the guard, but things didn't get any easier following the LAN. The guard started to dissolve itself as an org. They let go many of their employees, allowed for the current esports teams to seek other offers, and rumors have even indicated that they may sell their franchise spots in both Call of Duty and Overwatch. And so for the Apex team, in steps Sentinels. Sen was looking for a new team, and one of the best performing rosters in the world now being available on the market, well, the pairing was obvious. But as we know, this second split didn't go to plan for Sentinels. Welcome back to The Reset, where today we will be examining what went wrong for Sentinels, but first, if you enjoy ALGS content, please follow me over on Twitter and Twitch, links down in the description. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing and liking, it helps me out more than you know. Now, Sentinels Split 2 on paper tells a clear story. Last split when they were dominating, they scored 111 total points, while this split, they only managed to score 70. Last split they had 5 match days where they scored 14 or more points. This split, their best match day was only 13 points. Last split, their 2 worst match days combined for a total of 15 points, while this split, their 2 worst match days combined for 8 points. So clearly, they had a much lower potential ceiling and a lower overall floor. But what exactly was it that was causing these scoring issues for them? Is it skill? It can't be. We've seen them perform at the highest levels. Finishing 3rd in NA and making it to a finals lobby at LAN is an incredible start considering that they've only been teaming with Keon for 3 months. The talent was there, but there were a couple specific problems that led to their struggles, and we kick it off with problem number 1. This might be a bold take, but recent meta changes literally destroyed an entire playstyle from the game. The teams who would previously use crypto, rotate extremely fast to zone, set up a defensive position using Wattson were plenty. Many of them were rather strong too. If you've seen my Ascend or Moist videos, you'll know how strong this playstyle was in the previous meta. But right after LAN, we had a few changes that fundamentally destroyed this playstyle. First off, we had the introduction of ring consoles and survey beacons. Previously, the only beacon was the ability to grab circle. Now this change on its face isn't bad. Ring consoles serve the same purpose as the old beacons, and now we have the survey beacon added in to give more information to the lobby. The issue was that rather than having one beacon, now they have 2 different types, which means that spawn locations need to be changed. Survey beacons for the most part kept the same locations as the previous beacons, while ring consoles were placed in new spots. This specifically obliterated, and I use that word intentionally because these POIs are just awful now, but this change obliterated POIs such as Landslide and Jurassic. And well, bad news, that's exactly where Sentinels landed. Sentinels plays a very fast rotation style. In North America, they were the fastest rotating team last split, and on LAN were probably the 2nd fastest rotating team in the world behind only Moist. This means that having circle information was absolutely crucial to their game plan, but with the ring console changes, they did not place a ring console at either Landslide or Jurassic. These 2 POIs are relatively similar. Good central positioning on the map that allows for fast rotation and priority to a lot of zones. The loot is pretty meh, and if you take too long and try to sit there and craft, then teams from nearby POIs are almost guaranteed to be rotating towards you, which could result in a fight, and with poor loot, this is not the optimal outcome. So, these 2 POIs lack ring console, but that's okay, right? In the past, when they would land there, if a beacon wasn't available, they would use crypto to scan nearby beacons from afar. They can still do that, right? Wrong. Crypto got hit with changes as well. Apex introduced the new class system, and the legends who are in the controller class that are able to scan ring consoles seem very intentionally chosen. Crypto is not one of those characters. He is a recon character, meaning that he can scan the survey beacons to reveal enemies on the map. This changes the way that he can be played entirely, as we saw with Meat Lovers. But all the teams who attempted to play Crypto the same way as they used to, notably Sentinels, Oxygen, Ascend, all of them zone didn't really have the most impressive of splits. So the POIs that Sentinels landed at, which have poor loot already, lost their ability to get ring console, which for the record was one of the main reasons these POIs were viable. If any devs happen to watch my videos, please fix this and give those POIs a ring console. Also, please make Skyhook's ring consoles more accessible to both sides, as it would just be more balanced. Anyway, Sentinel's POI's main strength was hindered massively, and their character comp no longer worked as well as it used to for the same playstyle. Add in some rather unpredictable zone pulls this split, and playing as a really fast rotate team has become incredibly difficult. On top of that, survey beacons now allow teams to scan and find enemy locations on the map, which makes rotating potentially even more difficult for the ones that are being revealed. You can still play zone at a really high level, don't get me wrong, the zone playstyle has not died, but the very specific playstyle within it, the crypto zone rotates from poor POIs that have at least priority, yeah, that playstyle's dead. So these changes ended up forcing Sentinels into a bit of a freefall, and to compensate, they swapped to High Point and Overlook. High Point they got for free, but Overlook they were contested by tripods during preseason scrims, and they eventually gave it up, which saw them going back to Landslide. Eventually they stabilized and went to Countdown on days with tripods and Overlook on days without, but regardless, the early time at Landslide certainly held them back. Add in the small amount of time where RKN seemed to have lost his confidence in his crypto play, so he swapped comps. The first handful of weeks for Sentinels were rough and full of experimentation to try and adjust to the ever-changing meta, and that's when the news broke. On March 28th, Rambo officially announced his retirement. And before we discuss this, I need to say that I do not intend to address the drama surrounding this topic. If you want that, then unfortunately this is not going to be the video for you. All those involved have spoken their piece regarding everything, and that is that. Now, to the facts of the situation. Both Rambo and RKN have stated that the decision to retire did not come out of nowhere. Rambo had reportedly been considering retirement for quite some time.
I had known prior to that season, but was like thinking about like wanting to retire because he wasn't really having fun competing anymore. It was just like stressful.
So he pointed it out like early on?
Like long time ago, but it was just like, I was under the impression that it was just because we were doing bad, because everything sucks.
There was a rough stint.
Yeah, everything sucks when you're doing bad.
Yeah.
And like we didn't start off hot this split. And then day 2 was like a lot better, but it still wasn't good.
Right.
And then day 3 like was just like about the same. So I think after day 4, like it was just like another bad-ish kind of day. Like just not even 10 minutes after game 6, like Bo was just like, it's just like ready to be done. Like it was just becoming.
You could already tell. Could you tell as well?
No, he told us outright.
Oh, he told you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
One of my friends has a saying, if you're considering retirement, you already have one foot out the door. Basically meaning whether it's retirement or simply just leaving whatever situation you're currently in, it's impossible to give something your all when you are not mentally fully committed. Rambo also unfortunately revealed that there was some behind the scenes issues in his personal life that were affecting his play.
Yeah, man. So I was going through like a lot personally at the time, like within the span of, holy man, like a month leading up to, it was like right before Pro League started, and then during Pro League started, I had my grandmother passed away. My grandpa was going through multiple surgeries for his cancer, so he wasn't doing good. My dad was thrown into rehab, like just all kinds of other like family problems. So like none of that is bullshit. Like I was going through a lot. My head was in a horrible like space.
So you take the meta shifts, POI changes, lack of confidence in their legend composition, personal life struggles, and an option to retire. All of this stuff was weighing on Rambo's mentals, and it's not surprising to see that he had a dip in performance. This man was viewed as a top 5 controller player in the world during Split 1. His stats back that up as he tied Imperial Hal for the most kills in North America with nearly 11 kills per match day. Fast forward to Split 2, during about half of the split in which he did play with Sentinels, his kills per match day had dropped to 4. That's a stark contrast. And once again, it's not like he just magically got worse at the game. There was clearly a lot of things that were impacting those results. So Rambo retires. This leaves Sentinels mid-split in a position where they have to pull off a roster swap, and I think that this tweet from RKN summarizes roster swaps pretty well. He tweeted, "Roster changes might be one of the hardest things when it comes to competing." Someone then asked him to expand on that statement, and he said inconsistency, synergy, mental toll, emotional toll, impact on friendships, impact on public public opinion, impact on employer opinion, and more. I guess some people handle it easier and don't care as much. My teammates and my friends are family. So regardless of who they picked up, it literally could have been the best player in the world. Roster changes will always suck because of the time needed to make things mesh, and in ALGS, time is usually against you. You have a very limited amount of match days to perform in order to make LAN. Now I do need to clarify one thing. I know that the way I'm speaking about roster changes would make you believe that Zenile is potentially the cause of why they continue to perform poorly, but that's not what I'm saying at all. In fact, statistically, this split, they actually improved once they got Zenile on the roster. This could be related to the solidifying of POIs, Arcane returning to crypto, and them committing to that playstyle again. The point is, Zenile is an amazing player, so do not misconstrue this problem as placing any blame on him in any way. The problem is the fact that they had to go through this process in the first place. The stress on RKN, Keon, and Coach Nelson to find the right player in a timely manner, quickly fill that player in on their playstyle, drop spots, rotations, etc. takes time. And in the crunch that Sentinels were in, they needed to start popping off. Like I said, they did start to improve and consistently place inside the top 10 with Zenile, which gives me hope for last chance qualifiers, but regardless, the point still stands that no matter how talented all three of these players are, the mid-season roster swap was going to hinder them from reaching their max potential as a squad because they had to overcome the basic hurdles of a new trio first in order to truly compete. Anyway, let's take a few specific moments throughout the split that really highlight some of their struggles. We're going to start off with day number 2. Coming into this day, things were already rough, as following day 1, they had only picked up 1 point towards the overall leaderboard. I'm sure I could have used this day 1 to illustrate some of these points, but sadly I couldn't find their VOD anywhere, so we go next. Anyway, day number 2, we are on game number 3 on World's Edge. Tripods are in this lobby, so Sentinels are going to be landing at Landslide for the first time this split. With Landslide not having a ring console, they dropped the Wattson, a controller character who can get the ring now, in favor of Wraith. The goal, I assume, is more freedom of movement with both Falcon Wraith ults to control rotates. Also, both Rambo and Keon, being two of the best controller players in the game, now have 2 characters that can make plays, but we'll get more into that later. In order to try and make Landslide loot as viable as possible, Sentinels are going to greatly overextend. Just look at the map here, as Keon is going to be looting the tunnel for Skyhook and picking up the bins along the way down, while Rambo is going to be looting the area to the south of Fragment. The only issue with this is that if a team picks up on this split drop strategy, they can punish you for it. Meat Lovers do exactly that, as Funk and Zainu double land on Rambo and kill him off drop. It's fine because they will be able to respawn Bo, but this is going to slow down their looting and rotate that much more. And without circle information, things are going to get slightly more difficult. With some context clues, RKN is able to pick up where circle information is going based on nearby teams' rotations.
The zone might be on us, bro. This is so bad.
I think it is.
We just get
That team flew to staging. Lava Fissure flew to staging. We need to go staging as soon as you guys are ready.
The only issue with this is that they are at the mercy of waiting for those teams nearby to rotate and to get this information. So the previous advantage they had of being the fastest rotating team in the lobby is gone. Now, I'm going to get a bit nitpicky here, but they did get a vault key and decided not to use it. The circle is pulling nearby, so I understand the methodology of wanting to get a good spot, but with scuffed loot and using a Wraith Vault comp where you can get aggressive, I personally would have delayed the rotate a bit for the elite loot that a vault can provide. It's also worth noting that maybe if Rambo doesn't die there, they could spend that time that they used respawning him instead to get the vault key and then go and get the loot it provides. Instead, they move further into the circle and end up sitting in this truck on the tracks next to staging. Initially, they want to go to the open space known as Graveyard. They even attempt to Valcult for it, but somebody beats them there, so they just go back and have to wait even longer before planning their next eventual rotate. And this is where I once again want to reiterate, they don't have circle information. RKN is one of the best IGLs in the world when it comes to predicting the zone. But the best way to predict the zone is by having both Ring 1 and Ring 2 information. That's where his specialty comes into play. Only having Ring 1, especially considering that in this current split, they did change some of the endgame rings, means that his prediction is not going to be perfect every time. And so because of that, he's not going to be as confident in the spot that they want to play, so we see this approach where they just have to take their time. Eventually, they do end up moving towards this building that they refer to as A-Frame. MLS, now known as his wild card is nearby, and they know at some point a fight will break out as Keon calls for them to save EMP for an inevitable Seer ult that will be used against them. RKN decides that he's going to scout with his drone for a bit and specifically calls for Keon to hold the door facing towards MLS. Keon agrees to hold that door, but then quickly calms that he's actually going to get off the door in order to put some shots down range.
Can you watch this door, Keon, so I can fly drone a little bit?
What door?
The one facing 2-story.
Yeah, I'll sit on it.
They're fighting right here,
They're fighting, yeah.
I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna get off that door. I'm getting off that door.
They're dropping down right side. They're dropping down right side in the open. They're going back to graveyard. They went back to graveyard. They're safe.
I killed one.
Got another bandit.
I can't pin him. I can't pin him.
I'm nading it.
Guys, watch 2-story. Watch 2-story.
Got one right here.
Watch out! Run!
Here.
Dude, I just said to watch that side, man. We just got pushed for free because we're both out in the open. Fuck, man. Fuck, man. We do the same shit every day. No, it's... You guys are both pushed 20 meters outside of... I need to walk away.
So obviously, the immediate thought is to blame Keon here, and I will say that if he is going to change his IGL's plan, then maybe he should have received RKN's acknowledgement that he had heard the comms that he was leaving the door. That way, RKN can push back if need be. I feel the changes to their playstyle are really felt here. They didn't have circle info, so they couldn't beat teams to a better spot. If they had that, I wouldn't have been shocked to see them be the first team to Mirage Voyage or just another stronger place to hold. Also, because of no ring console, they dropped Wattson. Wattson is really strong at showing presence and preventing pushes, even without a player physically being present. Keon being on that door would have deterred the push most likely, but Wattson fences locking down this area could have potentially accomplished similar results. Also, in Keon's defense, this is his first day not playing as Wattson. Last split when they dominated, he was Wattson and Bo was Valk. With Bo now on Wraith and Keon on Valk, you have two controller fraggers playing characters that can take space well. Wattson doesn't have those same movement capabilities and is responsible for setting up defenses, so you inherently play more of an anchor role. This game tells the story of the first few match days. Even on days like this, where overall they finished 7th, they were only 8 points behind 3rd place, and so even if they secure a simply halfway decent placement with a couple KP, they could have very easily jumped into 3rd place on the overall day. If it's a banger game, there's even thoughts that they could have maybe jumped into 2nd. They would have one of these games where everything would go wrong, and that would ultimately be what prevented them from climbing into that top 5 the entire split. Like we talked about, their floor was much lower. Last split, it legitimately felt like this team was always playing in endgame circles, finishing in the top 5. Their bad games would still have decent placement because of their ability to rotate so fast with RKN's elite zone knowledge. This split, that consistency fell in individual games and their overall match days. Anyway, so we've seen how the meta shift has negatively affected them to the start of the split, but as I mentioned, there was a point where they also decided to swap away from Crypto Wattson entirely. So now we jump over to match day 4, game number 2, where they have fully embraced the Seer Catalyst meta composition. In this game, they landed Overlook and the circle is pulling towards them, so they decide to play the truck near No Name. And we immediately see their inexperience with this comp come into play as Keon is asking for good trap spots.
Yeah, if you have any ideas of where good traps would be, then let me know. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm gonna put one like right here in case they try to push us.
Yeah, literally in like all the dips, all like the slide downs and dips surrounding, kind of.
To be fair, most teams experience this with Catalyst early on, but this is match day 4, so while everybody has started to get the hang of her, they're playing catch up. I only highlight this because it is in stark contrast to their previous playstyle where RKN has played Crypto forever. Anyway, they managed to get a pick from afar and they pick up 1 KP as teams rotate in, so this game is starting to look pretty solid. But this is where we see a small mistake that is uncharacteristic of RKN. He is currently playing Seer, meaning for him to obtain information like he usually does, he needs to physically move his character as opposed to Crypto moving his drone.
I'm looking back at Overlook.
I want to walk up and try to grab the scout that I dropped up here.
Oh,
I just got fried. I'm good.
Top hill there.
You're good.
Don't give him any more damage. Don't give him any more damage.
I might get naded.
I'm looking. You're good.
They're not looking anymore, I don't think.
I'm inside.
There's a team.
I have no med kit. I'm safe inside. The door didn't shut. Rest fast. Place a wall.
Pump it back.
They're gonna push.
You have to wall it, Keon. You need a Seer ult. They're on us.
Oh, dude.
My bad, boys.
Fuck, man. Unlucky.
I died. I shut the door going inside and it didn't shut and I died inside. I should have just stayed crouching where I was, but I was afraid they would nade me.
They weren't.
He said that he wanted to go get a scout, and I assumed that he had dropped it at a bin a little bit north of this truck. As he runs to get it, the team from the top height near epicenter lights him up. Once he makes it back to the truck, TSM on the opposite side of the truck shoots him from afar. They get the knock because I guess he had moved away from the spot he was initially hiding behind because he was worried about nade spam. And like I said, we're starting to once again notice that previous composition that they were so accompanied to playing, they don't have it to help them here. If they had been running this composition in this exact spot in the previous meta, RKN, before going to get that scout, most likely would have checked the safety of crossing with his drone and would have seen the team on the height of epicenter. Also, they would have had a Wattson gen down in the front of the truck, so his worry about nade spam would have totally been irrelevant because it would have erased any nades. Instead, with this new comp, RKN made the small mistake, he overextended, and he got punished for it. Individually, these two games are minor mistakes. These aren't massive flaws in their gameplay like we saw with my last split video about FaZe, but these are notable because we never saw this stuff happen from Sentinels in the previous split. Also, they are not a team that can just turn it around next game by picking up huge amounts of KP to overcome the previous poor game. They are a hard zone playstyle, and that means they are uber reliant on placement and consistency, and then once they make it to the end game, that's where they pick up their kills. Anyway, following these struggles, Sentinels was sitting at 17th place, with 4 game days being played. They only had 2 remaining days to qualify for regional finals, and if they did qual, that would mean they have a 3rd match day left. They were sitting at 32 total points, and as we now know, the cutoff for the top 11 spots would be 82 points. With their 3 remaining match days, this meant they need to average 16 points per day, aka top 4 placement the rest of the way. But as previously mentioned, a roster swap was occurring. They were swapping back to their Crypto Wattson comp and having to adjust to the new playstyle for Crypto, and then they moved to countdown on A versus C days, meaning they had a new POI with new rotations to learn. Unfortunately, despite their best efforts, they were unable to qualify. But with Denial, there was plenty of room for hope for the future. During his 2 match days with Sentinels, they placed 8th and 7th, which secured them a spot in the regional finals. Mathematically, they essentially had to win in order to qualify, which they unfortunately didn't, but they were one of the teams that did reach match point eligibility, and once again, they placed 7th overall. 3 top 8 performances in your first 3 games with Denial means that I'm not ruling out the possibility that Sentinels can lock it in for LCQs and potentially make a run at champs. Last split, we covered Optic, FaZe, and Furia, and all 3 in different ways managed to turn it around this split and are now heading to LAN. And now with more time to prepare between now and LCQs, Sentinels can build chemistry with Denial, and I have no doubt that it's only a matter of time until we see Sentinels break the Sen curse and return to relevancy. Unfortunately for Sentinels, they will not be going to the Split 2 playoffs, but if you want to watch a video on the team who looks like the odds-on favorite to win the whole thing, click right here. Also, I want to take this time to thank our channel members. Their names are listed right here. I haven't been doing a good job promoting this lately, but if you do want to support me, becoming a channel member on the YouTube channel is the way to do it. You can do it by clicking the join button down below near the subscribe button on this video. You can also see that join button on my channel page. If you do, I appreciate it a ton. And to my channel members who are currently helping me out, I appreciate you. You're all amazing. I love you all.